So this is how it ends. Not with a press conference, not with a retirement speech, but with one public explosion, one too many missteps, and a quarterback who outgrew the system before he ever even started a game. Kevin Stefanski, the Cleveland Browns' now embattled head coach, is under a heat lamp so intense it might as well be powered by the dog pound's collective rage. And if the reports are true, if the whispers from Berea are even half accurate, it's over. The Browns are preparing to fire Kevin Stefanski. And the final straw? If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. A confrontation that's already being whispered about like it's urban legend. A full-blown fight. Yes, an actual shouting match. Maybe even physical tension between Stefanski and Shedeur Sanders. This isn't drama. This is mutiny. Let's rewind, because this story didn't just explode overnight. This thing has been simmering since the day Shedeur walked into Brown's facility, wearing that icy confidence, and the weight of every expectation this cursed franchise has placed on young quarterbacks since before he was born. But this has reached nuclear levels. Day 4 training camp was supposed to be a turning point, a calm, decisive day for evaluation, a day for seeing who rises and who retreats. And Shedeur, he rose, completed 8 of 11, 3 touchdowns, red zone efficiency that looked like it belonged to a fifth-year starter. Eyes downfield, quick decisions, pure zip on the ball. He didn't just play well, he owned the field. And what did he get for it? Second-team reps. While Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Joe Flacco, rotated with the ones, the crowd was audibly confused. Even the reporters were exchanging glances. And in that moment, the entire weight of the Stefanski-era stubbornness collapsed in on itself. Because you don't sideline a performance like that unless you're clinging to a philosophy so outdated it belongs in a museum. And when Shedeur asked why, again it happened, the tension, the build-up, the passive-aggressive coaching critiques, the under-the-breath snipes, the weeks of not-so-subtle disrespect, it exploded. According to insiders, Stefanski and Sanders got into a heated verbal exchange that ended with Stefanski daring Shedeur to sit out if you think you're bigger than this team. Bold move, especially when it turns out he might be. The locker room shook. This wasn't a rookie stepping out of line. This wasn't diva behavior. This was a young man who earned every rep, finally saying, "What else do I have to do?" And instead of being met with accountability, he was met with ego, old-school football hierarchy, the kind of outburst that tells everyone in the building, this coach would rather be right than successful. And that's when everything flipped. Ownership, already leaning toward Sanders, already worried about a cultural rift, reportedly lost it when word of the fight hit their phones. Jimmy Haslam has been Shedeur's quiet supporter from the jump, not because of jersey sales, though those don't hurt, but because he knows what's coming. A generational quarterback, a locker room leader, and the face of a franchise that desperately needs one. And now, the coach tried to humiliate him in front of the team. It's no longer a quarterback controversy. It's an organizational restructuring. The word inside the building is that Stefanski will be evaluated over the weekend. But let's be honest, evaluation is just code for we're cleaning out his office without saying it publicly yet. They've already begun holding meetings without him. Veteran players are reportedly siding with Shedeur, openly. Guys who've been around the league long enough to know that whatever just happened, that's not how you treat your QB of the future. You don't challenge him in front of the squad. You don't embarrass the guy who's clearly outperforming everyone else because he dared to ask for a fair shot. And you definitely don't do it while he's nursing a minor injury, trying to push through and still outperforming everyone. Let's talk about that injury for a second. Oblique strain. Not career-altering, not even season-threatening, but annoying, tricky. It limits your rotation, your torque, your velocity. And yet, Shedeur still balled out. He didn't complain. He didn't ask for rest. He put on the flak jacket, taped it up, and went to work. So imagine how it felt to still be benched behind quarterbacks who couldn't find the end zone if you handed them a map. This isn't about favoritism anymore. It's about sabotage. And Shedeur didn't flinch. He stood his ground, took the heat, and in doing so, revealed exactly why so many players and fans see him as a guy. Leadership isn't just about yelling in the huddle or calling a hot route at the line. It's about knowing when to speak up, when to demand better, not just for yourself, but for the team. And when he did, the coach snapped, and the front office noticed. The fallout has been instant. Social media lit up like a playoff stadium. Fire Stefanski trended within minutes. Players started posting vague tweets, just emojis, eyes, locks, and clocks. Translation? We're with 12, and it's only a matter of time. You don't need a PR department to decode that. Fans are already prepping for the next era. They're buying the jerseys, printing the memes, flooding the comment sections with "Let Shedeur cook" and "Coach Prime would never." And honestly, they're right. This franchise has been stuck in purgatory for years, cycling through quarterbacks like used tires, trying to slap Band-Aids on structural cracks. And here comes Shedeur, confident, composed, special, and the coach would rather double down on mediocrity than admit the future has already walked through the door. So here's what's likely next. The Browns issue a soft statement. We're reviewing all personnel matters. Meanwhile, Stefanski is quietly sidelined. Play calling duties handed off. Practice tempo suddenly faster, looser, lighter. And then, a resignation. Or more likely, a mutual parting of ways. Followed by Shedeur getting exactly what he earned. The QB1 role. Because at this point, there is no path forward that doesn't involve Shedeur starting. Not if you want the locker room's trust. Not if you want fan support. And definitely not if you want to keep your job past Halloween. Shedeur's injury will be monitored. They'll be cautious. But the moment he's healthy, it's go time. The future is now. And it's led by a 21-year-old quarterback who just took down his own head coach. Not by throwing a fit, not by skipping practice, but by simply being too good to ignore. Let this be a lesson to every front office, still clinging to outdated playbooks and rigid development protocols. When greatness walks in the door, you don't make it wait. You build around it, or you get left behind. Stefanski made his choice, and in doing so, he made Shedeur the unquestioned leader of this team, not by design, not by politics, but by default. Because when the dust settles and the nameplate on the head coach's office changes, only one man will walk out of this mess with more power than he had before. Shedeur, Sanders. And if you're Cleveland, pray you don't mess it up this time. Because this kid isn't just a quarterback. He's a franchise reset button. And he just got handed the keys. At this point, the Cleveland Browns don't need a press release. They need a fire extinguisher. Because whatever illusion of team unity or structured competition they thought they were projecting, it's gone, vaporized, scorched by one fatal mistake. The moment Kevin Stefanski thought he could check a rising star without the locker room, the fans, or the front office turning on him. But now, that star is shining even brighter. And Stefanski? He's already fading into the shadows. Because make no mistake, Shedeur Sanders didn't just survive the confrontation. He won it. And not by yelling louder or pulling rank or calling in favors. He didn't have to. All he did was show up to practice, outplay everyone in front of him, lead like a professional, and stand his ground when it counted. That's not ego. That's alpha energy. That's QB1 DNA. And the second Stefanski tried to challenge that, to contain it, he made the most fatal mistake a coach can make in 2025. He underestimated the power of a player who knows exactly who he is. Because Shedeur, he's not confused. He's not trying to find his place. He's not hoping someone in the building notices his effort. He's not quietly waiting in the corner for a clipboard and a post-game interview about trusting the process. He's past that. He already is the future. And Cleveland, bless their dysfunctional little heart, finally figured that out the hard way. Let's talk about the locker room for a second, because that's where the real war was won. Forget the media narrative. Forget the fans for now. The most important currency in any NFL franchise isn't stats or slogans or sideline speeches. It's respect. And when Shedeur stood toe-to-toe with a head coach, calm, poised, unwavering, and refused to let politics override performance. He earned it, not the surface level, "we believe in you" claps. The real respect. The "this guy has our back" respect. The "this is the dude we'd go to war for" energy that turns a team into a movement. You think that went unnoticed? Not a chance. Veterans saw it. Rookies saw it. Guys who bounced between 3 different teams in 2 years saw it. And everyone understood what it meant. The coach blinked. The rookie didn't. And that right there, that's the moment Shedeur stopped being the quarterback of the future and became the quarterback of right now. You could feel the shift. The subtle glances between players in a huddle. The sideline body language. The sudden silence in film review when Shedeur walked in. He's no longer just in the conversation. He is the conversation. And now, for the first time in years, the Browns finally have something real, something electric, something they can build around. The only problem? They nearly torched it, and Stefanski was holding the match. That's what's so wild about this whole thing. Cleveland had the winning lottery ticket in their hand, and instead of cashing it in, they argued with the cashier. They tried to explain why they should wait until next year, why maybe a few more scratches, a few more practice reps, a few more humbling moments would be better in the long run. Meanwhile, Shedeur standing there with 3 touchdowns on 11 passes, a broken oblique, and half the league watching the drama unfold with popcorn in hand. Let's not sugarcoat it. If the Browns had lost him, if this confrontation had escalated just one step further, you don't think other teams were already running the numbers? Calling agents, whispering to reps, preparing trade proposals that would make your head spin. The NFL doesn't wait anymore. If Cleveland didn't want Shedeur, someone else would have taken him yesterday. And Stefanski? He would have gone down in history as the man who let the franchise's future walk over a quarterback rotation chart. Now the Browns have a choice. A real one, not a hypothetical, not a thought experiment, not, "let's revisit this in week 4. Right now, do they pull the trigger and make Shedeur the starter, publicly, officially, loudly, and move forward with the one guy who's already proven he can handle the moment? Or do they keep pretending this is a competitive camp and risk alienating not just Shedeur, but everyone who sees through the facade? Because let's be honest, the veterans know, the staff knows, the fans know, this isn't a fair fight. It's not a battle between equals. It's Shedeur Sanders versus a system that wasn't ready for him. And every day the Browns delay making the obvious choice, the risk grows. Risk of tension, risk of division, risk of losing the first real quarterback hope this city has had since they lit the river on fire. But here's where it gets poetic. Because while Stefanski's future hangs by a thread, while the front office scrambles to clean up the mess, while ownership whispers in conference rooms and evaluates leadership dynamics, Shedeur, he's good. He's working. Quietly. Showing up early. Staying late. Throwing spirals. Reading defenses. Watching tape. Not complaining. Not posting cryptic tweets. Not asking for anything but the opportunity to prove what he's already shown. He doesn't have to talk anymore. The entire building is talking about him. That's how you know it's real. That's how you know the torch has been passed. Even if the coach doesn't realize it yet. And for the fans, this moment is a lifeline. Because for once, Cleveland isn't just reacting to disaster. It's teetering on destiny. You can feel it like static electricity before a lightning strike. The team isn't perfect. The roster has holes. The playbook's outdated. But none of that matters if you have the guy. And in Shedeur Sanders, they do. So here we are. No more hypotheticals. No more wait and see. Just one question. Will the Browns finally do what they've never been able to do? Get out of their own way. Because they've got the quarterback. They've got the momentum. They've even got the fan base lined up behind him like it's a campaign rally. Now, all they need is the courage to act like a team that wants to win. Fire the coach. Promote the star. And let the next era begin. The Cleveland Browns are officially on the edge. And not the fun, thrilling kind of edge. Not the we're about to shock the league edge. We're talking about the dangerous kind. The kind where your next move defines your future, your franchise, and possibly your place in NFL history. And standing dead center in the middle of it all, Shedeur Sanders, the rookie quarterback who wasn't supposed to become the story this early, the guy who was brought in, allegedly, to learn behind the vets, take his time, develop slowly under the warm blanket of organizational patience. You know, the let's protect him from the spotlight approach? Well, that ship has sailed. Because what Shedeur has done in the last week of training camp is flip the entire hierarchy upside down. Not by calling reporters, not by going off on Instagram Live, not even by making backroom demands. He did it the old-fashioned way, by being undeniable. You can't scheme around someone who keeps producing. You can't ignore a player who shows up every day and makes the field feel like it's on tilt whenever he's under center. You cannot tell fans, players, and ownership that the kid needs to wait his turn when he's literally torching your first-team defense in red zone drills with an injury. And yet, that's exactly what Kevin Stefanski tried to do. Tried and failed. Because this isn't the 1990s anymore. You don't get to hide elite talent behind depth chart politics and call it development. Not when every throw Shedeur makes is clipped, uploaded, and dissected by fans in real time. Not when the crowd at practice cheers louder for QB2 than QB1. Not when your owner is already making quiet calls asking why his rookie phenom is still running scout team routes. It's done. That old school, ego-driven. You earn it by standing behind people approach. Over. And Stefanski? He didn't get the memo. He thought he could win a power struggle with a player who doesn't even want a power struggle, just a fair shot. And when he couldn't handle the pressure, he did the one thing you can't do with a quarterback like Shedeur. He snapped. You don't challenge the future of your franchise in front of 80 men unless you're ready to be replaced. And based on everything coming out of the building, the only reason Stefanski hasn't been officially fired yet is because the Browns haven't figured out how to make it look clean. But let's be honest, the fans don't want clean. They want action. They want the man who just threw for 3 touchdowns in a limited session with an oblique strain to be named the starter. They want the guy who walks into press conferences like he owns a room and then goes out and proves it, to actually own the huddle. They want the Stefanski era, defined by cautious decisions, midseason meltdowns, and wasted talent. Over. And who can blame them? This is Cleveland, a city that has begged for something to believe in. A franchise that has passed over more quarterback talent than half the league combined. You finally land a guy who has a factor, and your head coach wants to slow roll him into obscurity behind Kenny Pickett? Pickett? This isn't just mismanagement. It's malpractice. And it's not just about football anymore. It's about culture. Because you know who does get it? The players. Watch the body language. Listen to the post-practice interviews. Pay attention to who's standing next to Shedeur on the sideline. These guys see it. They feel it. The shift is happening. And even if no one in the building says it out loud, there's a reason they're already calling him 12 like it's gospel. That nickname, that respect, that chemistry, you don't fake it. You earn it. And Shedeur, he's done just that. Without the starting reps, without the public backing, and now, apparently, without the support of the coach who was supposed to guide him. But here's the twist. Maybe Stefanski did help, just not in the way he intended. Because that public confrontation, that moment of madness, might have been a final push Shedeur needed to prove what so many already believed. That he's not just ready to start, he's ready to lead. And now, Cleveland's out of choice. And not a complicated one. Start Shedeur Sanders. Not next week. Not after the next preseason game. Now, because every minute he spends behind another quarterback is a minute wasted. Every snap he doesn't take is a missed opportunity for chemistry, growth, and trust. You've seen what he can do with scraps. Imagine what happens when he's handed the full offense. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a rumor, a loud, persistent, completely unconfirmed, but terrifyingly plausible rumor, that if Stefanski isn't fired, if this entire situation isn't turned around in the next 72 hours, Shedeur's camp is prepared to start looking at exit options. And that would be the end of the franchise as we know it. Not the end of this season. Not the end of a coaching cycle. The end. Because if you lose Shedeur Sanders, not because of injury, not because of competition, but because your coaching staff refused to acknowledge what was happening in front of their eyes, you don't just lose a quarterback. you lose your future. You lose your fans. You lose the one thing that every losing team dreams about and almost never finds, a chance to hit reset with a player who doesn't just have talent, but vision. Shedeur doesn't just want to play. He wants to build something. And the Browns, for all their dysfunction, could be that something if they act right now. Shedeur is the calm in the storm, the eye of a tornado swirling with media chaos, internal fractures, and organizational misfires. He's not begging. He's not campaigning. He's letting the noise rage around him because he knows what comes next. The only question is, do the Browns? Because this isn't about Stefanski anymore. It's not even about Jimmy Haslam's checkbook or the front office's political gymnastics. It's about the players in the locker room, the fans in the bleachers, and the city that has been lied to so many times that it doesn't dare hope anymore. And Shedeur? He's the antidote. But he can't fix it from the bench. And he shouldn't have to. So unless Cleveland wants to add another horror story to its already cursed quarterback graveyard, they need to wake up, fast, because this situation has one resolution. One outcome that keeps this team from falling off the cliff it's been dancing along for years. Make Shedeur Sanders a starter. Announce it. Embrace it. Empower him. Give him the keys, the system, the backing, and the team. Or sit back. Delay. Evaluate. Drag your feet until the air gets thick, the team fractures again, and another star leaves town wondering how Cleveland still hasn't figured it out. This is the moment, not tomorrow. Right now, Shedeur is ready. The city is waiting. And if the Browns don't act, well, there are 31 other teams watching. And Shedeur, he's got time. But Cleveland, you don't.